pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, has this meeting been posted, and if so, properly, Lisa?
Yes, properly.
Good.
In the upper and lower levels of the Evanston Community Center, the Cambridge Post Office, the Badger Bank, and the village website.
Okay, all right. Move on here. Public comment. Does anybody wish to speak on public comment? Dean?
Please, I'd like to make a public comment, but I'd ask permission to divert. I'd like to discuss item 9A. That comes up, if that'd be possible.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close portion of the meeting for public comment. Moving on. Approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any concerns, issues, clarification? We good to go?
I noticed we just had one extra D on the minutes,
Okay.
so I think it was in the reports. There was an extra D on the minutes, but that was the only typo I saw.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. All right, moving on. Reports. I usually give a report, but we had a nice weekend here, and I wanted to ask the person who was, I think, responsible for that to come before us tonight and to just give us an update and assessment of how well Firefest was for Cambridge. And I've asked Lori Struss, if you don't mind, Lori, to come up and give us an update on this.
Well, our record for rain of every Firefest stands. We had 25 artists, 11 demos, and 6 food carts. But rain does drive people into stores and restaurants, so that's a plus. And the businesses I chatted with after Midwest Firefest said that their sales were higher than they'd ever been. So the Cambridge Winery thinks everybody waited the rain out there, and everybody else said the same thing. So that's true. The Village of Cambridge Public Works teams were amazing with their help and their advice given the Sadi Park. It was really helpful. Anything I need, they get it for me, every one of them. Todd? We had 2 EMS calls. One lady with neuropathy and her legs fell, and one lady hurt her knee and couldn't walk and then had a panic attack. Both were not caused by anything we could have prevented. We had an RN on staff, and the EMS came and she passed him off. The Rooster by Ane Partna of Seagrove, North Carolina, turned out beautifully, and it'll find its home near Badger Bank when the park dries out. We won't try to move it until the park dries, and we have to build a base anyway. So Keystone hosted an after party this year, and it really helped us move people out of the park easily, out of our beer tent into their establishment very easily, cleared the park out beautifully without any issues. We had 50 community volunteers to support my core group of volunteers that put this event together. And let me say, if any one of these core individuals stepped back, we couldn't hold Firefest, because everybody is so vital. And those people are Mark Skidlark and Andy Wallman, Huck and Ada Gent, Vanessa and Maddie Roberts, Gina Eggert, Steve Struss, and Paula and Dean Hollenbeck. And I personally am so grateful for them, because one, they're just a cool group of people to like throw an event with, and they all get it, that we don't personally benefit from it, but our village benefits from it, and those are the people I want to hang out with. Andy Wallman launched a new food, fire, and fun initiative. 13 businesses participated in it. It was in the week's ahead of Firefest. And our intent was simply to drive locals into the restaurants ahead of Firefest and give them a little boost coming in. They all had fire specials, it costs nothing to participate, and it's something that we'll build on. The next one is, the next Firefest is June 14th and 15th, 2025, and before then, I would encourage this board to create a committee to address the lower part of the park so that it could be used by everybody all year round. We could do a different type of event and wouldn't have to have that bottom, it's just wasted space right now, especially given climate change. I don't know how much ice we're gonna get, so I would encourage this committee to create a committee, this board to create a committee and
Okay.
address that. And that's about it. I do have a concert coming up Friday, because why rest? So I invite all of you to attend. Thank you.
How are the concerts going so far?
Great, we've only had one. The bathrooms that I don't have to have in and out every week is brilliant. They're cleaning every Friday, cleaning it out. They were there for this weekend, they were there for our concerts, they were there for the Lions. So thank you for approving that, I appreciate it. And the concerts are great. We had 600 people attend the first one, and we made a donation of $300 to the music department at the high school from tips that were collected that night.
And then backing it up, your gala event in
The gala event is always the last Saturday of February, and that event is what pays for the concerts. And Firefest, it's a free event to attend, so while people say, what do you do with the money you make, Lori? We don't make money, we spend money to bring people into town. It's economic development through the arts, and that's what Firefest is about.
Okay. Other questions? Thank you for what you're doing,
Sure.
you and your team. And
It's a pretty groovy team, I have to say,
Yeah.
and they have great ideas, and they already have an idea on the next sculpture, so.
yeah.
it's
So
exciting.
excited.
It is.
Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thanks.
All right.
See you at the concerts.
Okay. All right, moving on. Plan Commission. Get an update here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was, yeah, we had Plan Commission last night. One of the items is on the agenda for later, so we will talk about that. The only other item of substance was from the Presbyterian Church. They are still trying to get a little annexed piece of land that they have been using for many, many years, but turns out isn't their property, so they're looking to get that annexed.
An easement.
Easement, sorry, my apologies. Easement, an 18-foot by 18-foot near the old water tower. That will be on the Water and Sewer Committee. We're going to take a look at that at our next meeting on Tuesday. So if you have any input, feel free to join us for that. And that really was the bulk of it.
All right. Director of Public Works, Mr. Todd Lord.
Good morning. My name is Todd Lord. I'm the Director of Public Works for Cambridge. We were busy with setting up for fire trucks. We had plenty of problems with water pumps and all that other stuff and fire, but we got it pumped out. Phew. I'd really like to thank the people for cleaning up afterwards. I mean, it was amazing that it was just clean. You guys
Thank
did
you.
a good job. And we have our cameras set up at the garage now. Security cameras set up at the garage. Jay did his testing on Thursday. He won't know for 3 to 4 weeks if he passed, because the DNR does that now. They set back and hold you back and wait until 3 to 4 weeks. Now we're finishing Tuesday's cleanup. Otherwise, Firefest kind of consumed us a little bit, so that's where we're at.
Okay. Questions for Todd? Lori left here, but I had called her on, I want to say Thursday, just to see how things are going, especially with the Lake Cambridge down there in the park. And she was quite complimentary about you and Derek and Cody and Jay. I mean, she mentioned you by name, so good job for supporting her.
We're a great team.
Yeah, great job, so thank you. Okay, I guess that's it, thanks Todd. Thank you. All right.
Todd?
Let's move on, office updates. Lisa?
I'm gonna pass it to Tammy, because I've been out of the office.
Hi. We wanted to give Public Works a really big thank you too. They went above and beyond last week when Lisa was gone and things like that to help set up and do everything for Firefest. I know that there was lots of issues with the water and things like that, and they kept in really good contact with the office on what they were doing, and thank you. You guys did great. The new water rates went into effect with the most recent billing, and it seems to have been accepted well. We haven't really received any complaints, so that's going well. Vicki was very grateful. We're working on the closing for the Safe Drinking Water Loan, and the 2023 Water Consumer Confidence Report, it's come in, it's been posted on the website. And then we received all the alcohol and tobacco licensing applications and payments, and the public notice was sent to the newspaper. I'm starting to prep a little bit for budget season already, just by looking at where we currently are for 2024. This kind of goes along with the treasurer's report too. And so at the next meeting, as you had talked about, Paula, I'll go through and pick out some different areas that I think we really need to focus on and look at a little bit more. We'll be almost half a year by then. The downstairs down here is being rekeyed. They started it today, but he had to get some more parts or something like that. And so he'll be coming back to redo that. And then they're gonna also rekey the lift station upstairs so that there'll be a different key for upstairs to downstairs where the public bathrooms are. Let's see, the key box is gonna be installed soon, and we're gonna put that downstairs outside the door out here. And Public Works is installing cameras. We'll have a camera here too that'll face outside so that we can see comings and goings when we rent out the space. I've started doing some election training, and Lisa and I will be attending Badger Book training later this month. Get us up and going so we can maybe finally use
Use them in August.
those Badger books.
The electronic poll books.
Yeah.
Oh, yay, good.
The website's coming along really good. I'm hoping that we'll be able to announce it on next month's water bills if everything goes according to plan. Haven't heard anything back from the auditors yet, which I think is a good sign. It says they haven't asked me for any more additional information, so I'm hoping they're putting together all of their final reports and things for us. I've been doing some researching for the Economic Development Committee. And then in conjunction with the fire department and the EMS, there's a new state mandated, it's called maintenance of effort forms that need to be filed by July 1st. So I've been talking with Joe and Chief Blount to get all of the information to file by July 1st. If we don't file it by July 1st, we could suffer a penalty of 15% of our shared revenue. So it's something that has to be worked on cooperatively with both of those entities and the village so that we can get those filed. So things are going well so far. I've spoken, communicated with both. So I hope we'll get that in.
When do you expect to send that report back?
I'll probably have it done before July 1st because I just received some more information today.
Okay.
So,
And Tammy, is that something all 5 municipalities would have to turn in?
yes,
So what we're doing for one is gonna be appropriate for all of them?
correct.
Okay, great.
Correct. Yes, they have
So-
to do it for each one.
So all 5 municipalities have vested interest in making sure that gets done.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Because it could affect each one of theirs.
Each one
They
of their
each
shared
have
revenue.
to file separately.
Right,
It's,
but-
yeah, yep, so the
Yeah.
same information goes to all 5 communities.
Great.
Right. But I just wanted to make you aware of that, so if you happen to see them out and about, say thank you for helping Tammy get the reporting done.
Great.
I don't want to be the reason we get a penalized 15%, that's a lot. And as always, we have a lot of various ongoing projects in the office and things like that we work together on and get completed.
All right, thank you, Lisa and Tammy. Now we'll go back to you, Tammy, with the bills and a treasurer's report.
Yeah, village update, question, the flooring, when is that gonna be,
Have we heard back from them?
the flooring down
Oh,
here?
shoot. I was gonna get more quotes, and I haven't yet.
Okay.
So thank you for the reminder. Yeah, I'm sorry that slipped.
And
I will get on
also
that.
don't wanna lose the bubble on the dancing goat, issue out there.
They are
with Sam.
supposed to have something
Yep,
to
they
us
sent
this week,
something to us ahead of the next water and sewer
Okay.
committee.
which is next Tuesday, so.
Yeah,
we
they
need-
did send it.
Oh.
Were you copied on that? Well,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yep.
Thank you.
Okay, Tammy, we'll start with bills.
Okay. We did pay one bill ahead of time. It was $15,000. That's the, that's what I'm looking for. It's the fees that we have to pay to Quarles and Brady to help us with the safe drinking water loan. So those were their fees. And then I'll highlight a couple of the bills over 5,000. There was just 2 of them. One was to Mid-City Corp for well number 3. It's the 9th payment, and that was $796 or $796,000. $986. I mean 35 cents. That did not come out right at all. And the other one was for a loan that we have with Badger Bank for $14,552.69. So the first run of bills was $804,356.57. The second run was $20,666.85 for a total of $825,023.42.
Okay.
Sure. I will make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $825,023.42.
I'll second.
Okay. All righty, questions?
The big well payment thing.
Yes.
That's been signed off on, MSA looked at it, all the things that had to be checked and were all approved.
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay. I saw that we had a small amount, but the door frame for the Bobcat is $595. Something happened?
Yeah, I accidentally popped the window on the Bobcat.
Okay.
Okay.
Broke it.
Had to get that repaired.
Okay, all right. Guess that's it. Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Franklin, Whitwer.
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Christ,
Yes.
Blackwood,
Yes.
Reinig,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. All right, bills are approved. Let's move on. Item 8, unfinished business. We've got Fire Commission update. Chris.
Fire Commission update is gonna be short and sweet tonight. Basically, we have a meeting on the 19th. Right now, the new secretary, Alicia Hines, is seeking input for that agenda. And the rest of the Fire Commission update will be on the closed session portion of our agenda.
Okay.
Chief, do you have update on the tender?
Tender was delivered Saturday to the factory where it's gonna have a new frame installed on the tank. October is potentially when we're gonna get it back. So, hopefully we get it back in October.
Thank you, Chief. I have a question, but it's really not a question, and it's not a statement either, but it's right around now is when we start looking at budgets. And, you know, we all know our situation with the fire and EMS. I don't know if the existing commission members are going to be looking at the budget or how they're doing that. Any thoughts, Chris, as far as how that's going to play out?
Well, we had an election of officers last time, so we have a new treasurer, which is Mr. Smith back. So he's in the process right now of turning over with Sheila. Alicia Hines is the secretary, and then Dave Schrader is the new president. So I can definitely bring that up on the 19th and see where they're going with that. But I know right now Sheila is in the process of kind of getting everything that she has from a financial, budgetary standpoint and getting ready to pass that down to Mr. Smith back. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's not much we can do, but we're aware of it. Okay, anything else for Chris, fire and EMS?
So Sheila had sent out an update of the numbers on what she'd gathered from 2023. And I find what I found most surprising of that in 2023, for salary and benefits, just salary and benefits, we paid $1 million for the EMS service. And that's EMS service alone. I think that's absolutely exorbitant and blows my mind.
The commission as a whole paid $1 million.
Yeah, the commission as a whole, but $1 million.
And their budget was 700,000.
Right, and that was only for benefits and salary.
Yeah.
That wasn't for anything else.
The
Total
problem
budget is 1.4.
Yeah.
For how many calls do they make in a year?
650-ish.
Okay. All right, well, you know what we're thinking, so, thank you, Chris.
Fire station.
Lisa, did you get what I sent you sufficient?
What was it?
For the actual, the board?
I sent it to Tammy. She's
Yeah,
the one.
I'm
so
doing it.
I did send it.
At
on to
first
her.
glance, I haven't delved into it yet. It looked good, Joe.
Thank you.
Let you all know that I have sent it to all 5 municipalities, so fire department's covered.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Item 9, 9A, room tax, and recommendation from the Economic Development. I know, Dean, you wanted to speak. Did you have something to say before or after we get an update here? As far as-
Either or, whatever you wish.
Why don't we introduce what it is first, and then I think, because otherwise, people may not understand Dean's comments without
That's
context.
fair enough. Okay.
Sure.
Economic Development.
So I'll jump in here, I guess. In your packet is 3 pages on the topic. The Economic Development Committee has been talking about ways to generate some funding for the committee, and we came upon this idea. So today, we're asking the board here to consider implementing a room tax. Our recommendation from the board was a 5% room tax, and our expectation is that would raise between $10,000 to $15,000 a year. Per state statute, about 70% of the funds would have to be spent on tourism, and the EDC is recommending our committee that 70% of the funds collected then would be provided to the Cambridge, Wisconsin Collaborative 523 for tourism purposes. The remaining 30% would be earmarked for the EDC's committee's use to promote economic development, including tourism. Tonight, we'd like to get preliminary approval from the board, if that's the direction we want to go, If it is, then our committee then would develop some village ordinances and other information, and then come back to the board for final approval. So that's what we're looking for tonight. In that information I sent you is kind of some background information, page 3 if you look at it, kind of a visual of how room tax works. Basically, when you have someone stay in a hotel or lodging, and in this case we believe it includes any Airbnbs or short-term rentals like that would have to be included too. But basically the guest coming into our community would pay the tax, the fee of, we're recommending 5%. That then would come back to municipality, who then in turn we'd invested in tourism, which in time then would create more lodging, and it just becomes kind of a circular loop to help the development of tourism, which also would help economic development. So interestingly enough, I've kind of looked at some of the state information on it. Find my spot here. There's quite a few communities in Wisconsin that have a room tax. Over 350 municipalities have a room tax currently. In our area, some of the local ones are Madison has a 10% tax, Cottage Grove, the Village of has 8%, Johnson Creek 8%, Fort Atkins 5%, Jefferson 5%, and Watertown 5%. So it's not an unusual event. A lot of communities have it.
A lot of Airbnb, short-term rental type properties, do we know?
I don't know. Probably not a ton.
Not right now,
Not right now.
just the 3 motels. Or the
Yeah.
2, yeah.
So I have 2 things.
Sure.
Nice report, very, very good. The 30% that is going to be earmarked for the EDC committee,
Yes.
would that help to cover some of the administrative overhead that's required for from staff to be able to administer the taxing piece of it?
We didn't get it to that level of detail, but it
And then,
depends how much work it is. We're not sure how much reporting there's going to be, but
It's like an annual report that the village office would have to do.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that whatever administrative overhead there is for
Sure.
collecting those taxes, making sure people are paying them, doing whatever reporting, that we're taking that into consideration, because that would be an additional job that the staff would have to do.
Correct.
and we
So-
briefly talked about that at our meeting.
Yeah.
The second thing, would the committee, or I would like this board to consider, instead of the 70% of the going to the EDC, could we, or to the 503, I'm sorry, which company is it? 30%. No, the
Cambridge,
not to
Wisconsin
the EDC,
Collaborative
but to the other, the
The collaborative,
yeah, the collaborative, instead of the 70% going there, would this board consider giving a portion, maybe, well, a portion of it to the Cambridge Arts Council? Because the largest event that brings in the most tourists for this company, or for this village, is the Firefest. So could some of those dollars be provided to that nonprofit volunteer organization to be able to cover some of their costs?
and it is its own entity and
It's its own
all of that
entity.
kind of
Yes.
thing. Is it,
Yep, it's a,
is it considered for tourism?
Yeah, the state statutes are pretty strict on
They
what
are.
can be spent.
They are. So I
We'd
mean,
have to
if it
see.
meets certain criteria,
Then
could-
it'd be up to the board to decide,
exactly,
but it has to meet certain criteria,
right.
and I can't answer that question.
I don't know what the criteria is, but
Yeah, we'd have to look,
at it.
we'd have to
Yeah.
look into that.
Yeah, we can't
Okay.
answer that today.
It's a good question.
Would it-
Definitely
Would
that's
it make
board
more
decision.
sense to have the Economic Development Committee review each year who was going to get the 70%? Maybe it's not always going to go to this entity.
Right, I
but
would like it to be reviewed every year.
Okay,
At least
if we did
they
it.
can choose.
sure,
As long as it
I
falls
think that's
within-
reasonable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as it's an actual entity,
Yeah.
you know, like a chamber, like, you know, this
Libraries.
collaborative. We
Could
can
make
look
that
into
part
the
of
Arts
the-
Council and see, yes.
Just something to consider.
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
you could make that part of the rules.
Ordinance or.
Ordinance, yeah. That was the word I was looking for.
Okay. Dean, you had some thoughts you wanted to express. You want to come up?
Thank you. I like what the Economic Development Committee's doing, trying to get some ideas going, and Paula, a good suggestion there too on reviewing of your statues. I brought statues and I would like to, thank you. And I think our attorney should look at it too. This is a taxable entity that's going to be collecting taxes. And I would like to see, here you go with that. Like on page 3 there, according to the statute, we do have to set up a separate committee of 4 to 6 people potentially to divvy out the 70%. So that's just another layer in government. So before we approve this tonight, I'd like to see possibly what the statutes say, how we implement this tax, who administers the tax, and who gives it out. But kudos to the economic. I'm glad we're looking ahead from there. In regards to the taxes, personal comment. You know, we only got 3 hotels. You know, Mr. Bonacani's, the BP, and of course the Village Hotel out there. And a 5% increase. The BP, I talked to them, they're okay. Mr. Bonacani can, but we've got people that I think they're looking at a $585 increase on their rooms. And not to stereotype and stuff like that, but that's a real income that these people are living year round. So, you know, is there a different way we can tax people that possibly can contribute more? Or do we put the burden on possibly people that can use that $585 to possibly pay for food and other things? So, personal comment. So, that's all I want to do is make sure we do it right and divvy it out properly through our administration. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Dean.
If you go forward with this, this is basically just to give the Economic Development Committee permission to start looking into it more and getting more details, like with these ordinances and things like that, and figuring out all of the dumpers and staff, you know, what would be needed and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's not like something that would be finalized right now, but just the go-ahead.
But if there's no interest in doing it, the Economic Development Committee didn't want to put all that effort in if
Correct.
there's no interest in going forward with it.
Right.
How do we
I
feel?
think right now, where my mindset is that I think this is something that Cambridge will eventually evolve into, but at this time, with the water rates going up the way they are and everything else, I just don't think the timing is right for it. I think maybe we should investigate some other ways of taxing. I know that it's been brought up in the past about, you know, empty building tax on Main Street, or, you know, something along those lines. I know that would be a slippery slope because we don't own those buildings or whatever the case is, but other municipalities have done that. Oconomowoc is one. So I just, for $10,000 to $15,000 and putting that burden on the 3 hotels that we do have and the Airbnbs, I just don't think the timing's right. Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify a little bit. The tax is going to be paid by people that are visiting the Village of Cambridge. So that's who would be paying the taxes, people that are out of town. So like people that come and stay at the hotel here because they're doing road work or coming to stay at Inn on Main. Anything that's 30 days or less can be taxed. So it's not on the village. It's kind of money that's sitting there that could be utilized if we put it into place. The other thing is, if we have any more development, let's say we get a Holiday Inn Express or something at some point that wants to build, we would have it already in place for that. That's just from what the committee discussed, if I'm correct, Bill.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we all know, you know, I mean, that the folks that live out at the Cambridge Motel or whatever that place is, that they're not from out of town. I mean, a lot of those folks, that's their residence.
If they're over 30 days, they would not, the tax does not apply.
They have to move.
Well,
But they can't,
that is a different situation right there, because I believe they moved them around.
they move them from room to room,
Room to
because if you can't
Because they
have someone in
can't
a
for
Their
30
license
days.
hotel
as a
longer than
motel.
30 days.
I mean, there's other issues that go along out there as well, so.
And I know in a roundabout way, it's from people that are visiting, and I get that. But it also, it's kind of burdensome to the owners of the hotels and motels too, because it's an added tax.
One of our members did talk to 2 of the owners, and they were not concerned about it. The
I
only
mean,
real
it's a
concern we
pretty
got
common,
was,
it's a pretty,
I wish I would have known
becoming a very
before now
common
that you're
thing.
planning that, because I've already printed up my literature.
Mm.
That was really the only pushback we got. No, they did not talk to the people from the hotel. They tried to talk to them.
And I know we have some bed and breakfasts.
In town though? We thought maybe they had closed.
We have one.
if they have to pay more.
They're not paying.
Right from the.
Okay.
The ones down
I
on
guess we didn't.
They'd have to pay the tax.
There's
Again,
Which
it's
one are you
preliminary.
talking about?
They pass it on to.
Oh, yes, that one. Yep.
They're not paying, yeah.
And that might help.
How do we feel about
Yeah.
giving the Economic Committee and Bill, I mean, just approval to look ahead, kind of capture all of these issues?
And actually write up a potential ordinance? I mean, so where did this come from, Dean?
That's state statute.
Because state statutes, and this just gets into where the money goes, a nonprofit organization that was incorporated before January 1 of 2015. So we wouldn't be able to give it to the organization you currently have named because they weren't incorporated before
No,
that time.
this relates to, and I don't remember the exact details, but the amount of funding that can be provided to the organization, if it was established before 2015, I think it's a greater percent or a
Oh.
lesser percent. So
Okay.
the statute gets kind of confusing when it talks about those dates, because they're grandfathering some things in
Oh, got it.
prior
Okay.
to that date, so it is a little confusing.
Yeah, Paula, I haven't looked at this specifically with this question in mind, but my understanding has always been that the Arts Council, those kinds of things would fall as, the threshold is it reasonably likely to generate overnight
True.
guests
Yes.
into town? And so I think to your
That would be a
question-
definite yes to the,
Yeah.
particularly for the Fire Fest, yeah.
Yeah.
Jane, have you worked with any municipalities that do a room tax?
Definitely Stafford has with other municipalities. I
Okay.
haven't personally worked on it.
But there are
Yeah,
some there that are
definitely.
familiar with
Yeah,
it.
we can, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Plenty of model ordinances or
Okay.
whatever, yeah.
It's good to
Okay.
know.
So, getting back, do we want to give economic development at least authorization, encouragement, to look at this? We're not agreeing, we're not saying we're going to do it, just if we were to do it, how would we do it? What would the pricing be, and phase-ins and reporting cycles?
I guess I would ask if there's more people, the majority feels the way Chris does, which is not to move forward.
Well, I wouldn't mind moving forward for informational purposes, but I also want to look at, is economic development looking at other taxing, like the empty building tax or whatever it is on,
Yeah,
Not yet.
no,
I mean, we've got another one, we don't know how much it's gonna generate income, what they're looking at is, like the food trucks, but I think that's just a,
that's pretty minor,
yeah,
yeah. That's more of a safety
correct.
issue, and
Do you
we're looking at
I don't want to.
licensing of food trucks.
Do you think the committee, I actually read the meeting minutes from your meeting minutes, so I saw you guys talked about that. Do you guys think you would entertain looking into an empty building tax? Or is that something this board would do? Because, I'm not sure if it's kind of an economic development thing, because if those buildings weren't empty,
encouraging people to use it.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
would the committee consider looking into that as well?
I mean, I can't really speak for the committee, but I'll bring it back to the committee.
You won't
Over-
even have to do any of the research, because all the research has already been done by Steve Strauss, the former president. He brought it to the forefront before, and
Oh,
didn't really
okay.
gain much traction at the time. But, you know, looking back in retrospect, that's something that I would probably be more open to than this. It's just timing, you know, I believe it is a good source of income for the village. But right now, with the water and everything else, I don't wanna tax more people out of Cambridge.
But, okay, I'm gonna say some hard stuff here that maybe people might be a little uncomfortable with. I think the one we're most concerned about is the one on the edge of town. Again, the taxes for the people who are, if it is a hotel motel, hotel motels are supposed to be used by people coming into town and tourists. And an extra 5% room tax, I don't think would keep someone from staying in a hotel or a motel. That, how the business model that is being used with the hotel that's on the edge of town, while it is probably the only place in town that is affordable housing for some people, that isn't what that is supposed to be intended to do. And we know they are already not complying with rules because they have ways of getting around people not complying with hotel and motel requirements. And if we're concerned about having places for people who are lower income to stay, that should be a separate issue than the hotel tax or the potential of the hotel tax.
Okay, so getting back to this consideration of this hotel tax, does anybody want to make a motion to give Economic Development Committee authorization just to look at it? We're not saying we're going to do it, but just to review it and come up with pros and cons and take it from there.
I'd like to make a motion for the Economic Development Committee to continue pursuing and researching the room tax.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right, you have a second? Further discussion?
I think research and more information is always better than less, and we can have additional conversations.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. All right, it carries. All right, thanks, Bill. I know this one, you're getting a sense of what the issues here are. Yeah, I'm gonna pass on it. Okay, item 9B, the Verizon wireless lease. Is this you, Lisa, or is this Tammy?
Yeah, we received this from Verizon, an extension on their current lease. It is a little, and I did hand out to you today, I had asked him because their proposed starting rate is less than what they're paying currently. I handed out his response on how things have changed. By doing it, it does offer $68,400 commitment and income. We are only in there should be one more extension, 5-year extension, that would go into effect if we didn't renew or change it. But I did have Jane look at it a little.
Yeah,
If-
one thing that's worth calling out to your attention is that the offer is, for this extension, is for less money than what we've been getting.
Yeah.
And Verizon would add the right of first refusal to the space on the water tower in case anybody else wanted to use it. We would have to give Verizon the chance to match their offer. So, I mean, my first thought when I looked at that was like, we shouldn't take less. I mean, municipalities should appreciate that that water tower space is valuable to these businesses and at least counter with at least what we're making. Of course, that's a policy decision. And then in the meantime, there's been this response that says, well, we're transferring to 5G. This is less valuable to us now, this space on top of your water tower because of that. And so that's why we're offering you less now. I guess to be fair to Verizon, and the other thing that it said in this response is, you know, it is a guaranteed, so 60-month rent would, the total amount of the rent that would come from it would be $68,000, given the guarantee as long as we continue with this. But so do you want to burden the hand of that much, or do you want to counter? I think that's kind of the question. Do you want to counter to ask for more money, maybe meeting what they have been paying to us in rent?
They say it's negotiable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about, the offer is about $500 less a month than what we're getting now. So that's $6,000 a year. The lease runs through April of 2030. So that's another let's say 5 years of the lease. So that's $30,000.
Yeah, I think we should.
So what are they
negotiate.
giving us in exchange for us saying we'll take $30,000 less?
Nothing.
Because that
except
68,000, that 68,400 guarantee is what they'd be paying us anyway.
Right, it's not.
So, I mean, I don't know why
Yeah.
they're emphasizing that rent guarantee, because isn't the lease saying, and can they get out of the lease before the 5 years?
Not if it's a 60-month guarantee.
It seemed like the supplement that he just said would be a 60-month guarantee, but that is not necessarily what the lease agreement it said.
Okay.
So I read this as sort of almost like a supplement to their previous offer.
Oh, so it has to do with the termination rights. Okay. As I read the rent guarantee, Verizon Rhinos will modify its termination rights under the lease to guarantee your rental income over the next 60 months. So over that 5 years, so there must be something in the lease agreement that with the termination that would let them get out of the lease early if they needed to, how it's currently
that's what
written.
I was just trying to look at the.
Because I'm trying to figure out why they're making that rent guarantee such a big deal.
Oh,
The leasee shall have the right to terminate this agreement upon the annual anniversary of the agreement.
Oh, so even though it's a 5-year lease, every year
They
at the anniversary
could.
date, they have the ability to terminate it.
Yeah.
So this would guarantee that they wouldn't terminate it within those 5 years.
that's what his email seems to say
Yeah.
is the guarantee that they wouldn't
Yeah.
terminate it, as opposed to
Yeah.
Right.
the.
They haven't
yeah.
come out and said
Got
approve
it.
this or we're gonna terminate, but, yeah. Is that an option that they'd have, possible? Do they need us with the new 5G? Yeah,
From a water and sewer perspective, how inconvenient is it to have the infrastructure on top of the water tower when we have to repaint?
It's not.
No? I recall that being a delay last time.
Now, to be clear, the memo that they sent to Lisa on May 22nd is a similar offer as what it says here in this
Right.
email. So, in other words, with the reduction in payment comes this, and it's consistent with what it says in the email. So, so that's what they're offering. So we could counter to say, give us the same that you're paying now, and see what they say is one option. The same terms that they are proposing, but the same price that we've been getting.
So the current lease is expiring now?
Doesn't expire until 2030.
but a new 5-year
Cycle.
increment would go into effect in 2025 if it continues.
So
If-
this
if
would
they
only
don't-
modify some of
if they
those
don't
terms.
Stop.
Everything else would stay in effect from that agreement.
What's the current lease payment?
The current
1,600.
is, I put in the,
$1,528.88.
$18,250 a year. Their proposed starting with this new is $13,680.
Losing
Which,
4,500 a
yeah,
year.
under the agreement, the next 5 years would go up to almost 21,000. But if they're saying we're not going to, we can't continue to give you what we're giving you, are they gonna continue the current lease or
Yeah, so that's.
back
if-
out of it?
If we said, no, we want to use the old lease, they would have the option of just dropping it then.
Yeah, I mean, because we're making a counter argument, they could reject it offhand, but.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it
that'd be the
seems
worst
like they've
scenario.
made a business decision that they want to continue using it, so
For
it
at least
seems
5 years.
low risk
For 5 years.
to at least make the counter argument,
Yeah.
or the counter offer rather, yeah.
I think negotiation is probably the best avenue.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion here? I'm inclined to stay where we're at.
Well, I would love to accept the terms, given that the dollar amount is equal to what they're paying us today.
Yeah.
Okay. Except the terms of the, no, yeah, everything else in the memo is fine. The right of first refusal, in other words, is fine.
Yeah,
Just
I don't see
lower
that
the-
as an issue.
So with the new 5 years, will the lease payment go up under the old terms?
Under the old terms, it would.
How much would it go up?
It would go up from 18,250 a year to roughly 21,000.
So are we saying, when we want to leave the price the same, are we saying we want to leave it at 18,000 or the 21,000?
They're new,
What I'm trying to say.
yeah,
If it
would we
locks us
keep it
in.
at where we're at for the next 5
yeah.
years?
Yes,
the
but
same.
we have,
No,
we
hold on.
need to define that when we
The
tell them.
new, okay, so the new rent amount right now, this is what they're proposing is $1,140 per month. I'm saying, I would like to see the rent amount staying the same as what we are what they're paying us, which is $1,580.
That's what they're paying us today.
Yes, and then every 5 years, there is a new rent escalator of 15%. So every 5 years,
But that new 5-year period starts next year.
no,
Right.
this
This
is
would
with the new lease.
supersede
This
it.
is
Yeah, but
what
I'm
we're
talking about the old
negotiating.
lease.
The old lease, it would
The
start in
old lease, we would have gone to
2025.
21,000.
Yep.
But your motion, Paula, is that the rent escalator is still in effect, is that right?
Well, the current rent escalator,
Yeah.
Or the
current,
proposed.
that we still want to have the rent escalator in this counter offer.
That they've proposed.
So you're saying keep everything, the 15%, the 4 additional 5-year terms, the rent guarantee, just
so
at the current
the-
rate?
right, so in the memo that we received on the 22nd, what I was saying is the only thing I would say is that the rent amount would be $1,520.88. So they'd continue paying us what they're paying us now.
Which is less than if we wouldn't have done anything.
And keep that in place for the first 5 years.
Yep,
We're
and-
giving them a
and
month.
I'm
Yeah,
wi-
that's
I'm
what
will-
I'm-
I'm willing to forego that
The 5
15,
years.
I'm willing to forego that 15% increase to,
Lock them in
Lock
for
to, to lock them into this
Yeah.
lease.
5 years.
And then the guaranteed, rent guarantee would be for the 2088 times 60, whatever that dollar amount is.
You want to put that in the motion?
It would be just substituting
Yeah.
their proposal, substituting the current amount they pay for what they're proposing.
Yep.
But when you present it to them, I think it's important to say that it will be a rate reduction for you next year.
Yeah, because we wouldn't expect them to do because otherwise they'd have to do that increase, wouldn't they, next year? So we're
But I think it's important. we
letting them
point
forego
that
that,
out to 'em.
that increase.
I got a feeling that's what they're probably looking for.
I'm fine with that.
All right, go ahead with your motion here.
I'll make a motion to direct our legal team and staff to create a counteroffer for Verizon that reflects a rent amount staying the same as what they are currently paying, and the rent guarantee then being multiplied with that amount accordingly.
I'll second. Accordingly.
Accordingly.
Could you repeat that, Paula?
I do believe you're taping this for a reason.
You are correct.
All right, further questions? It is money, so roll call.
We're not spending money, but we can do a roll call. Whitmer,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Christ,
Yes.
Blackwood,
Yes.
Reinig,
Yes.
Franklin, McNally.
Yes. All right. All right, good luck on that one, Jane. Tammy. Okay, moving on, item 9C, the second addendum to the Vineyard Condominiums condominium plot, recommendation from Plan Commission.
Sure, so Chuck wasn't there, so I was stand-in chair, and the recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve this second addendum to the amendment. This is always part of the plan, was to continue building the condominiums they have. They will be pretty much identical to what's already there, perhaps stylistically a little bit different. Mr. Ranget, if I misspeak at any point, please feel free to come and step up. But it's always been their plan, so this is just continuation of that. So currently, if I recall, you have only one still for sale of the ones that are currently built, and one of them is being rented. So these would be the next ones that would be available for sale. Yep. There was no concern from Plan Commission.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the second addendum to the Vineyard condominium plat.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, carries unanimously. Good luck.
Yay, yay, Bill.
Okay, let's move on. Correspondence, I do not see anything, so we'll pass on that. Item 11, questions and referrals to staff, future agenda items. We've got the Village Board 101 to be scheduled, safe drinking water loan, that's July 9th. Are we okay, ladies?
Sorry.
Okay.
The recorder wasn't working, but we have it taped.
All right,
So-
okay. I would, I think that the issue of the park down here, our West Side Park, I've heard about this. And, we have that clay lining, and we try to have ice skating there, and it's not working out either way. Wasn't a lot of usage last year, but the weather was pretty
There was
warm.
0 last year,
Yeah.
because we didn't even have a rink, because we didn't have
Didn't have
enough
enough
cold weather
weather.
to. 2 years in a row?
So we're looking at that being a future agenda item, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to throw on there.
I
So
like
the
that.
status of the West Side Park, and how would we go about solving that, or at least getting an idea what the issues are? Anybody else have anything that they would like to?
Should we put the flooring that Chris brought up
Yeah.
on
Full
there?
flooring.
Yep, I'll
Yep.
get
Good.
more quotes.
And then the follow-up to the trail money, what's going to happen? The bicycle trail, there's some funds that we overspent, and Paula, you had some conversations with people about being able to get reimbursed for that. And I'd like to find out how much it is, and I brought this up last time, how much we got, how much we're waiting on, and what maybe the plan there is.
Well, there was some donations or something?
I don't know.
When Kate and Laura didn't realize that there was, that all of the dollars had not been paid back to the village. No one had told them at that point in time when I had the conversation with them, and this has got to be a year and a half ago, I maybe had the conversation with them. And they had said, oh, well, had we known that, or, you know, maybe we should we'll talk to Lisa or have Lisa call us or whatever, and we'll figure out what it is, and maybe we can do some additional fundraising to try and reimburse the village for those costs. That was the conversation I had with them.
And I had worked with Brian Raymer, or not Brian Raymer, Brian from Town and Country. Our numbers were a little off on what the donations were up front, so the final spending was a little off. So
Okay.
I have to go back and see if I ever got confirmation from him, but
So that you can
Yeah.
figure out what that dollar amount
Yeah.
really is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yep. Good agenda item.
Anything else for future agenda?
On the
discussion?
25th will be all the licensing renewals. And July 11th, our new Dane County Supervisor, Carrie Marion, will be coming to introduce herself. And
Okay.
Do you want to
Yeah,
bring up what you
yeah.
brought up in water and sewer about the well? And you want to do some kind of ribbon cutting or?
Well, we need to get the group together. We've got a dynamo for the last piece, and we will be sitting down and discussing this as far as what we can do with the old well.
No, I'm talking about the new well.
The grand opening of this.
He just said to remind you for the board meeting that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We had the water, they had the water and sewer, and we're going to be opening up, making this functional, the new well. Do we want to have a grand opening and, you know, people there and, you know, to be able to explain why we're doing this, and that, you know, this was really something that was, it was imposed, and what it's going to mean as far as quality of water here throughout the village. I don't know if it'll be a big, open, you know, like a festivity, a cutting of the ribbon, but to make the thing functional. How do we feel about it?
Something we
You're
can
not talking
feature.
about like letting people go in and have a tour of the building or anything, because I'm not comfortable with that.
I haven't even seen the inside of the building yet.
Yeah, I saw it more as just, you know, a ribbon and cut the thing and the meter starts. You know, it's $5 million.
Here's where I'm at. I'm just worried about, and this is me with my tinfoil hat on. Do we really want people to know all about all of our water stuff? Because if somebody's really pissed off at Cambridge and they want to compromise our water supply, that would really, like, you know, that's one way that people can really get back at communities. And I just think that all of that shouldn't necessarily just have people come and go. But that's just my personal tinfoil hat opinion. So there we are. There we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
So
a reason we don't have signage on the well
Correct.
for well number 2.
Correct.
And a lot of that was promulgated since 9/11, security reasons and everything, because it is an infrastructure that is vulnerable. So, but, you know, going off of what Mark is saying is it might be advantageous for folks to understand what they're paying. They're 60% or whatever.
Yep, I totally get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we have a good balance if we're going to
Yeah.
do so. I mean, I get it.
And it might be anticlimactic too,
The
because
hard
it's
part-
a well house, you know, it's,
Yeah, what's
like,
the
what are they really gonna see?
the hard part is a lot of the money is not visible.
Oh, yeah. it's
Yeah, the
underground.
building does not look like a $5 million building. It's,
They're gonna be like, we paid for this.
does it raise more questions?
My
Yeah.
60% increase.
Yeah.
Right.
I could
Yeah,
go
it's not gonna be like
But
one
the
drug
cost,
or
it's-
anything, you know.
It's they're
Handing
received
out
their
water.
first bills with the increase.
Here you go.
Here's your
fresh
bill.
water.
That's a water sommelier.
Yes, yeah, we'll have, with
Yeah.
the, with the,
I'm not sensing a real strong endorsement on this, so I
Maybe.
guess we're gonna just hold off on this one.
yeah,
This was something that we had to do.
yeah.
We had to do.
Right.
I'm looking
Yep.
at that one person back there who is writing down notes.
On the
And,
camera?
Yes. And so we did what we were required to do, and we're happy to provide good, safe, quality water. We'll leave it at that. So,
There we are.
okay. I thought you were talking about another project, another well, and that's going to be coming up.
In a future meeting.
Yes, but as long as we're talking about upcoming
can
meetings,
get you the
I will not be here at the next meeting. I've asked Chris, just to let you know, so he will be running the meeting. Okay, with that then, upcoming meetings, June 12th is the Library Board, the 18th Water and Sewer, June 25th Village Board, 25th is Licensing, July 9th is the Village Board, and then finally the Village Board 101 meeting to be
Yeah,
determined.
maybe I'll send out an email looking for some dates to do that. In the past, we've usually done it at night. That's not our normal board nights because we have enough on our agendas.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Or the 10th.
so,
Okay.
12th, isn't it?
There's an
Oakland?
economic development meeting coming too, I forgot
Oh.
to
Oh,
put that in
Fire
there.
commission.
Police and fire.
Police and fire.
oh,
tomorrow night.
police
Oh,
and
yeah,
fire
police and fire
tomorrow.
tomorrow night. And then economic development, I think it was the 10th,
July 10th, yeah.
your anniversary.
Okay, so that takes us
remember.
Or we
up
could do
to
it on mine the
item
next day.
That's what I'm
13.
doing for my anniversary.
All right. I'll make a motion to convene into closed session per 19.851 Echo, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Topic, Fire and EMS Commission.
Okay.
I will second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Hollenbeck.
Yes.
Christ.
Yes.
Blackwood. Breinig.
Yes.
Franklin. Whitworth.
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay, we're going to adjourn into closed session. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and we'll let the audio tear down, and you got 5 minutes.